Welcome to NFL Prop Picks, powered by the Blitz on Covers. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Derek Carty, the mind behind the numbers. Easy Gus win yesterday. I don't know if you caught that 43-yard Gus Edwards rush at the end to seal it, but it was a pretty easy layup, especially, they were a negative game script pretty much right out of the gate, too.
Yeah, we had the Gus Edwards over, and I'm like, come on, keep it competitive. Yeah. And then he left at the end of the second half with injury, I think 2 or 3 carries shy. And I'm like, but he came back. He made it happen. Anything else you bet on that game from the Blitz worked out really well. It was a good game. Hopefully we have a couple more this weekend.
See my Michael Burton 21 to 1 TD prop. I got the fullback on there.
Awesome. No, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah. A little fullback action. Things were getting creative, and Sean Payton still hates his backfield because that's Sean Payton. And, yeah, Javonte Williams. You're like, okay, here's your no carries. Oh, you had a 15-yard carry? No more carries for you. Here are 7 3-yard pass attempts. There you go.
Sean Payton complains weekly about how hard it is to feed 3 running backs the football. And then when one of them gets hurt, instead of being like, okay, problem solved, I only got 2 now, he calls up a third guy from practice squad and decides that he's got to get fed too, of course. Like Sean Payton you never know what this guy's going to do.
No, and that offense cannot close out games with how terrible that run game is. But we got 4 primetime games coming up and plenty of releases, some unders, more unders than overs, but we do got an over and numbers are moving. So let's get going. We got football. People are getting ready for the holidays, but if you work in this industry, this is not a slow weekend at all. We got primetime games starting early. Houston at Kansas City. Kansas City slight dog in this, over under sitting at 39.5. It's a 1 p.m. game. Temp sitting in the cool around the 30s with light wind, nothing crazy. But let's get to it. We got a play and a lean. We'll start with that play, and we are at Bet Rivers. Let's go some passing props. Let's go interceptions. Is that our number?
Yes, it is.
Oh, beautiful. Fantastic. All right, let's go. CJ Stroud, under 0.5 interceptions, plus 114. CJ Stroud, under 0.5 interceptions, plus 114. That's a play. Always a tough spot to be like, well, it's done this and it's done that. But in terms of where we're getting this, plus 114 is kind of like 15 points better than we've been getting the same type of quarterbacks in the same matchup.
Yeah, exactly. So they're offering us some value here. We'll take it. The Blitz thinks it's like a 60% winner at a little bit of plus money. That's good. We did not end up so good on the interceptions props last week, but they've been good overall. And they're these coin flip plays. Sometimes you're gonna get the wrong side of the coin, but you play enough of them and you should come out ahead. So we're just gonna keep firing, and this one looks good.
Ooh, there's a name I haven't seen in a long time. LD Yanks. Hey, how are you? Nice. He's saying plus 110 at DK, next best. Appreciate that. I'm sure kind of goes down to lean territory in the minus 110 range, but probably something to buy anything with a plus, no?
Yeah, I think plus 110, you're still probably still on the lower end of play.
And then, Andrew Brennan's saying they just abandoned the run in the second half. They just tried to incorporate the run in the short pass game, it seemed, in Baltimore, with the Broncos. They're not a very good running team. It was tough. And it's really tough to watch offensive coordinators or play callers outthink themselves in game script when you're up by 10 points. You're like, ooh, they know the run's coming. I better pass on first down. No, just run on first down when you're up. That is the rule. Lean territory here. Bet Rivers. But I really like this one because the name is still fresh in people's mind in what he's done in primetime games like 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
Receptions is where we are. Kansas City players. Let's go tight end Noah Gray, under 2.5 catches, minus 107. That's the lean. So I always like reverse engineering Derek's picks here, and basically goes right to usage. He went from 27 routes to 19 routes to 16 routes week on week on week. And like I said, the public perception on Noah Gray is he's catching up to Travis Kelce in terms of his usage within that offense, right? Like he's had some big games. People are getting healthier. I mean, Mahomes doesn't have an injury designation somehow going into it, but I mean, if they scale back the passing game somehow, like, would you be really surprised? There's a lot of secondary and tertiary things that lead to this as a good play.
Yeah, definitely. This is one. It's only a lean because it has moved so much since it opened. This opened a couple days ago, and you could get it like I think plus 125 or plus 120 or something, which would have been like easy play territory. Minus 107, we're down into lean territory, but it's still good. I think I've played this one the last 2 weeks. Like you said, the narrative is always catching up to Kelce. Not really. His role has basically stayed the same, actually maybe gone down a little bit. And I think this week with the return of Hollywood Brown, there's a chance for fewer 2 tight end sets, obviously fewer targets to go around. This one looks pretty good to me.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been a better playing the receptions market, like I'm just like picturing like people just waiting for the market to open because everything comes out first and you kind of have an understanding of where it's going to be. And I think it's probably the quickest attack market that comes out.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly the market that I try to attack the quickest.
Yeah. Brian Thomas, anybody? Right? Like I reverse engineered that and I dropped it today. I'm like, okay, why is this popping so much? You usually don't have like 5.5, 6.5 on the over. And you're like, oh, snap. They fed him 3 screen passes on his first 3 catches. Like that was all I needed to see. He had 5 screen passes last week. And if they want to get Brian Thomas the ball, they're going to get him the ball.
And they've said that that's what they want to do. They want to get him the ball early. Like they want to force feed him. They've said basically.
All of a sudden, from looking at your numbers, I am so excited for the Vegas Jacksonville game at 425. Oh, yeah. Just because anything could happen. And like AOC is obviously the better quarterback that you want in that game compared to Desmond Ridder, who basically just checked it down to Amir Abdullah the entire game. I think he finished with 7 catches for 52 yards in that game.
Something like that, yeah.
Question from the chat. Does under 24.5 receiving yards, even money, have any interest? That's from Patrick.
I don't think so. The Blitz is projecting maybe a couple yards under that. Basically no value on the yards for him.
Hopkins facing old team. Does that count when he's on his 3rd team and now it's not his old team, it's his old team? I'm sure it counts for something, but I'm sure they're not in the locker room saying, hey, better draw something up for D-Hop here in this game. I think there's a lot at stake for this team, and D-Hop doesn't need a lot. Like Amari Cooper territory, right? You don't hear Amari Cooper complaining to people. 0 catches, right?
No.
Just winning games is important. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, speaking of winning games, just an absolute massive game for the division here, especially with the tiebreaker. Baltimore -6, over-under sitting at 45. Temperature sitting in the 30s, sustained winds of 15 miles per hour. I believe this is somewhere in the green to yellow territory in terms of, what's Kevin Roth's analysis for weather. It's a little scarier than the other ones, but nothing too crazy. Sustained 15 is nothing really to get too worried about. Lean, Caesars. This one has moved a ton.
Yeah.
Carries. And let's get it in there quickly. Jaylen Warren under 7.5 rush attempts, -117. That's a lean. Why? Have you looked at his game log recently? Like him, not being involved is kind of more probable than an outlier right now. Games of 3 and 4 carries in 2 of his last 3 games. I don't know if you caught the end of that Philadelphia Pittsburgh game last week. They ran just 41 plays. How did they run 41 plays? They only had 2 possessions in the second half. They couldn't get off the field, and they absolutely just got dominated in time of possession. I'm sure low volume is here, but just even his usage isn't up. So this is probably going to close around six.
Yeah, we had this at plus money, like, I don't know, an hour ago, 2 hours ago. It has been moving quickly. This is a team that wants to run the ball, but they haven't run it much with Warren lately. They've been running it more with Najee. They've worked in Cordero Patterson quite a bit.
Arthur Smith's buddy.
Yes. And they're playing against the Ravens. So, they're touchdown underdogs here. They might not have the luxury of running as much as they want to. They're going to have to throw a little bit more. So this one looks good.
Do we owe Arthur Smith an apology as he tried to use Jonnu Smith more than Kyle Pitts? I've seen that conversation today.
I mean, I always thought Jonnu Smith was an underrated guy. I thought the Patriots underused him. I thought I kind of like when Arthur Smith used him.
With a receiving total of 59.5 every week now, apparently.
Yeah, Jonnu's legit.
Jonnu is legit, and I'll never forget his run that just the books could not keep up to where it was. You're like, okay, no, it's not enough. And that happened for like 4 straight weeks until it literally hit like 59.5. Just a single play there for the late Saturday game. Then we go to Sunday Night Football. Tampa Bay, Dallas. 4-point dog. Total sitting at a week 16 high of 48.5. Are you trusting Cooper Rush? Who he's been capable. I think he's thrown for multiple touchdowns in 3 of his last 4 games, started 6 games. I think he's 4-2 to the over. But I don't know. Where are you buying Tampa Bay? 500 yards last week. Like, are they one of the most dangerous offenses? Like, you have to choose what you want to stop. You got to stop White and Bucky, and then Jalen McMillan and Evans can absolutely take the top off, or it goes the other way and they can run all over you. It's a pretty hard offense to stop, no?
Yeah, it is. Lots of ways that they can beat you. They mix and match their running backs. It's, there's a lot of guys to think about for a defensive coordinator.
Like if Tucker is the number 3 still, like he doesn't get anything, but like he's sitting there waiting in the shadows. And if they need him, I'm sure he could probably produce within this system. But we've seen the flop from Bucky overtaking Rachaad White in the early down roll. We know Rachaad White, he's got like 3 years of just bad running carries. Like he's just one of the least efficient runners, and there's a pretty good sample on it. And Bucky is an absolute stud. Rachaad White, put him in the 3rd down roll. That should be the way that this offense is run, and that's kind of where we're going here. It's going to be a play. Are we at Caesars? Did that one move?
Yeah, it moved like 4 yards.
Jeez.
Yeah, so we are here now. This I think we can. Hold on one second. What does that translate to? That's different than I thought it was going to be.
Minus 113. Minus 112.
That's fine. Well, this is still a play.
Yes. Okay. Throw it up there. Let's go. Rachaad White under 49.5 rush yards, minus 113. That's a play. Rachaad White under 49.5 rushing yards, minus 113. Play territory. Bucky's kind of banged up, but he's been playing through that. He's been limited practice. He should be good to go. Kind of what I said. No, wouldn't you like to see Rachaad White in more of the 3rd down role and give the carries to the rookie?
That is certainly what I'd like to see. That's kind of.
Who's more frozen?
What's that?
Oh, I think you're freezing up. You're good now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. When they're trailing, you see more White. When they're leading, you see more Bucky. This should be a leading game. They said that Bucky looked really good in practice, kind of back to his old self, I think, basically. So Rachaad White theoretically should only be getting, 35, 40% of the work here. And that, he needs to break off a long one probably to get here. If you look at his rush attempts market, only one book has it. It's FanDuel. But his rush attempts are set at 9.5, which basically means to get to 50 yards. What's that? 5 yards per carry.
It's like 1.3x his career number. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the number is set too high. The Blitz is projecting 34. We'll take the under here.
That's a really good point that you bring up when you're looking at rush attempts versus rushing yards or receptions versus receiving yards. I think the easiest way to get into it and look at it and try to find value is looking at running back receptions, because like 1.5 and 2.5 and 3.5, it's a pretty easy way to manage. But like Javonte Williams yesterday, he had what, a 2.5 minus 160 to the over, and his yards were like 14 to 17.5. It's a big difference. I mean, he's an inefficient guy, but you'll see it with Amir Abdullah, who I think you like his over receiving yards. I think you have a projected for 19. He'll probably open up at 2.5 and then probably get nuked to the over. But sometimes the two numbers just don't add up. Rachaad White under 49.5 rushing yards, minus 113. That's a play. Another play here too. FanDuel, if it hasn't moved, and I didn't look at the chat. Hey, there we go. Number still good. Lean. Money Mayfield under 0.5 interceptions, minus 102. I'm very excited to watch this offense in primetime indoors versus Dallas. Like, their projected point total is 26.5. If they won 38-10, I wouldn't be surprised. But this is a spot where they could lean on the run too. Like, the passing volume doesn't have to be huge, and indoors is, I know you say it increases volume, but would it not also increase efficiency as well?
It does. Yeah. It increases accuracy. He's going to be able to put the ball where he wants it more than he could outdoors when there's a little bit of wind throwing it off course. So yeah, that's going to help here. Playing from ahead should help. Another one of these interception ones that, projects as like a 60% winner, and we just roll with it.
Yep. So just keep an eye on stuff somewhere in that minus 105 and up range in terms of high-end quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield. So hit that under Sunday night. Over 2 plays there. Rachaad White under rushing, and then Baker Mayfield, no interceptions. And then we go to Monday night. Monday night, not as exciting. Indoor team, outdoor at Lambeau in the 30s. Should be interesting to see. Massive Green Bay favorite. We were on them last week. Let's go ESPN. Run lean territory because this number is absolutely taking off. I don't know how to feel about it because he broke my heart last week, but he should have had 800 yards on the ground by the third quarter. Josh Jacobs over 89.5 rushing yards, minus 105. What did he have in the first half? 17 carries for 76 yards or something?
Something like that, yeah. This is a huge number. Last week we bet it and it was like 72. So it has gone up a lot.
A lot.
But the Blitz is projecting 114.
Yeah. He had 26 carries last week?
Yeah, like this is a guy who they want to give carries to. They've said it. They're like, how can you not run the ball when you have Josh Jacobs? And we've seen it. They've run the ball all year. They've given him a huge share of the workload. LaFleur, as we go down the stretch, tends to lean even heavier on his bell cow. The Saints as two touchdown favorites. The only concern here for me really is, do they blow them out so much or blow them out too quickly that Jacobs cedes work to one of the other guys because they just don't need him?
And that's what I have in my notes to ask you in this exact same spot. How do you quantify mop-up duties in these games?
It's hard to. You try to figure out the probability of it happening. You try to look, give a little bit of extra carries to the other guys, for that chance. But yeah, that's certainly.
Hey, it's just me again. Ladder to 150 is crazy. The covers just put ladder to 150. If you're laddering rushing to 150, like, you need like 80 yards in the first half to feel comfortable. That is a lot, right? Like what he did last week in the first half was probably about as productive as a back can be early in the game. That was 76. I do not suggest laddering.
You're going to need some really, really good plus money to ladder to 150.
you just need massive runs. Like, you need to break off 240 yarders to get through that. That one's too tough. No, the ladders are more like guys like Audric Estime, who had 26.5 yards. Those are the ones you ladder. 150 is crazy. Yes, it's once you realize that, you know how you learn that? Trying to ladder guys like Justin Jefferson to 175 yards. You're like, wow, that's really difficult to do. 125 plus is plus 350. You would be so angry at yourself if he was doing so well, and then Emmanuel Wilson comes in and then mops up a lot of those yards. So that's where the worry is.
That's where the worry is.
Like I said, outdoor team and the Saints going to Lambeau. I don't know if they'll keep it competitive down the stretch. But that's the handcuff there in that game. Emmanuel Wilson, he closed out last week's game. He got the final carries just to close out the game. With Josh Jacobs sitting at 96 yards, needed him for 100. Thank you very much. That's how I know Emmanuel Wilson will be the guy. But usually there are some live betting opportunities if you know if that game starts getting out of hand, or if there's even more injuries to the New Orleans Saints offense and you know that they're not going to keep the score close. Look for someone like Wilson in the touchdown market, or for yards if things are out of there, especially as a good handcuff if you're on this Josh Jacobs over 89.5 rushing yards. Woo! Primetime games, lots of them. Enjoy the holidays, guys, because things are still cooking for next week. We have more stuff coming. I believe me and you are going to do stuff. What did we say? Christmas Eve? Is that
Christmas Eve? I think we're doing it. We're doing a show. Yeah.
Oh, yes. We are working Christmas Eve. We're actually working through, it just doesn't stop, right? Like, thank you very much, Netflix, for Christmas. Yeah, for football on Christmas. But, yes, we're going to do a Tuesday morning. That's going to be released for the stuff during the week for the Christmas games. But, I mean, last year was the first year we had it. I really enjoyed the Christmas games on in the background. I don't know if you live in a house where that's acceptable, but I enjoyed it. And obviously the NFL did too. So we got that. So all the plays, we got CJ Stroud under interceptions early. Noah Gray under 2.5 receptions. That one's going to shorten up. Jalen Warren under 7.5 carries, already moving, going to move even more. Rashad White under 49.5 rushing yards. Baker Mayfield not to throw an interception. And then Josh Jacobs in a market that's absolutely taking off to the moon, but Derek's projecting a lot of yards, north of 110, over 89.5 rushing yards. That's what we got. We'll leave it at that. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Derek Carty. This is NFL Prop Picks powered by the Blitz. Thanks to everybody there in the chat. Have a great and safe weekend holiday. Enjoy all the sports coming up, and we'll see you next week. Enjoy the family time.